Welcome to the Criminal Litigation Series. My name is Omar Khudair. I'm a Senior Associate in Al-Tamimi's Litigation Department. I'm joined today by Andrew Fawcett. He's a partner in our TMT department. Today we're discussing defamation and insults. To start with, I think it's important to make a definition or differentiation between insults and defamation. There are interchangeable terms like slander, libel, insults, defamation, but I will not go into details of those and limit it today to defamation and insults. So insult is basically to use a swear word when communicating with another person to harm him. Defamation, on the other hand, does not involve a swear word. It's a description of an incident that you attributed to another person to harm him and subject him to contempt or public hatred. To give an example, picture this. An employee, he sends an email insulting his work colleague and copying other colleagues at work. Another example is use of social media. You find an angry customer posting on any social media and tagging companies and managers and other employees to describe a certain incident. Even if it's true, it's still harmful. For example, saying that this company is corrupt and this manager is taking bribes. Even if you know that for a fact, you have different routes to pursue this. One question would arise about freedom of speech and criticism. What is the allowed criticism and the allowed language, words that I can use? So Dr. Al-Sanhouri, who is an Egyptian scholar, talked about this in one of his articles, explaining that there is criticism that is constructive, that aims to benefit the welfare of others or the community. This is acceptable, but when it exceeds that, this is when defamation triggers or kicks in. Yeah, so we see many emails and posts on social media that forms all of this, and we're getting a lot of instructions. You agree, Andrew?
Yes, definitely. Defamation seems to be a bit in the news at the moment. There's been some high-profile cases overseas with movie stars and footballers' wives. The thing with defamation is, as you're explaining before, can be in different forms and in writing, and with the rise of social media, that's increased exponentially. And also verbally as well. So institutions and people need to be taking care about what it is that they're putting out into publication. And part of our roles as lawyers is helping our clients review the material they're doing. For example, we're acting with the universities and reviewing their publications and blogs and things like that. And the thing that's quite important to understand in this region as compared to other places where I mentioned that there were those high-profile cases, they were civil cases, whereas in this region, defamation is actually a criminal offence and is something that's prosecuted by the police. The other thing to also understand is you can actually defame a company, not just a person. So it's possible if you're saying something about a company that could be defamation. And that's what I think people need to have some understanding of. If you're newer to the region, things that may have been okay in other contexts that may be defamatory here. And also part of the beauty of our region is that it's a mixture of cultures and that as well. And what may be okay for some person may be an insult to another.
Absolutely, I agree. On that point as well, I think it's important to note that the victims they do not need to be individuals. They can be corporations as well. So a company can actually sue someone by filing a criminal case against him. It doesn't have to be only a person. Also, that after the criminal case is concluded, it's a common practice that you find the victim filing a civil case. If they pursue that, they don't really go with that practically because of the costs involved, but legally speaking, the option is there. Defamation and insults, they are covered under the penal code and under the cybercrimes law. The cybercrimes law sets out a much harsher penalty, and it involves, the cybercrime law steps in when there is use of technology or technological tools or platforms. Penal code is when I insult someone and there's a witness face to face.
Yeah, and so part of the fact of this in the cybercrimes has led to the rise of more claims and offences as well, because it's being able to do by technological means.
You'll find an interesting one is that you can find a story on social media, which is ends in 24 hours. There are like stickers and emojis that are used, and you find the victims filing criminal cases based on those emojis, and even if they are not clear words, but they do indicate some sort of insult or somehow harming the person who's tagged.
And also the thing that we have seen is instances where people have done recordings of things that have occurred, and even though they're accurate recordings, they do put the people into disrepute, and that's defamatory. And generally in those kind of contexts, if you do see something and record it and it's a crime or something like that, don't go and post it on your social media. It's the kind of thing is that you make it available to the police and the public prosecution for them to take those things forward, because just because you've recorded something, you could commit an offence yourself by sharing that in an inappropriate way.
Andrew, you want to give us some insights about any guidelines from the UAE media authorities or something here in the UAE?
Yeah, so generally the National Media Council has got media content guidelines. So in terms of general media as well, there's things, they give guidelines as to the content that you shouldn't be putting into publications, things like that. So that's sort of the main guidelines there. The social media platforms themselves have their own acceptable use policies and that, and even if you're at work using your work will have acceptable use policies and things like that. So you need to be aware of those things as well. One of the other things that has differed in the law in our region, and particularly UAE, the cybercrimes law has introduced an offence of spreading fake news and rumours and things. So that's an additional offence now here in the UAE.
Yes, correct. So I think we would agree that you have the guidelines, you have the cybercrimes law, you have the penal code. There are other laws as well that we didn't discuss, like the anti-hate law, and which was issued to prevent hateful speech and discrimination. There are some provisions there that could also supplement or be used in one criminal complaint. So it's a form of network of legislations that work together.
Definitely. I mean, just your online presence and things like that. It's about respecting people and what you're saying.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, everyone. This brings an end to today's episode. We discussed insults and defamation. Please join us in future episodes for the criminal litigation series.